What if I told you some of the most peaceful places in Kentucky are hiding stories that don't feel peaceful at all? A quiet hike up the Berea Pinnacles near Berea, where people hear footsteps with no one behind them. A journey deep into Mammoth Cave, where explorers walked in and were never seen again. And hidden among the cliffs of Red River Gorge, ancient petroglyphs that no one fully understands, yet still make people feel watched. These aren't just stories, they're real places you can visit. But once you know what happened there, you might never see them the same way again. So tonight, we're not just exploring locations, we're stepping into mysteries that still don't have answers. And trust me, some of them should have stayed buried. Mountain near Berea. You've probably seen mountains that look calm from far away. Soft green slopes, quiet trees, maybe even a peaceful town resting at the base. But sometimes, those same mountains hold stories that don't match the calm view at all. Stories that feel a little too strange, a little too unsettling to ignore. And today, we're going to a place like that. A mountain near Berea. At first glance, it looks like just another part of the Appalachian Range. Locals pass by it every day. Hikers climb it, tourists take photos. Nothing unusual, right? But if you stay there long enough, if you talk to the right people, you start hearing things that don't quite make sense. The mountain is known as Berea Pinnacles. It's a popular hiking spot, especially for beginners. The trails are marked, the views are beautiful. On a clear day, you can see miles of rolling hills stretching into the distance. But there's another side to it. People say the mountain doesn't always feel the same. Some days, everything is normal. Birds chirping, wind moving through the trees, sunlight cutting through the leaves. But on other days, the air feels heavy, too quiet. Like something is watching, but you can't see what it is. And the strange part, these stories don't come from just one or two people. They come from many. One of the earliest stories told by locals goes back decades. A group of hikers went up the trail just before sunset. Nothing unusual at first. They followed the path, talking, laughing, enjoying the climb. But somewhere near the top, they noticed something strange. The forest went silent. No birds, no insects, not even the sound of wind. At first, they thought it was just a coincidence. Maybe the weather changed. Maybe animals moved away. But then, they heard something. Footsteps. Behind them. They turn around, but no one was there. Now, that might sound like imagination, but here's where it gets uncomfortable. The footsteps didn't stop. They continued, matching their pace. Slow when they walked slow, faster when they picked up speed. And still, nothing behind them. They didn't stay long after that. They rushed down the mountain before it got dark. But one of them later said something that stayed with locals for years. He said, "It didn't feel like we were alone. It felt like we were being followed, but not by a person." Since then, similar stories have come up again and again. Another visitor, years later, reported seeing a figure between the trees. Not clearly, just a shape, tall, still, watching. When he tried to focus on it, it seemed to blend into the forest, like it was never really there. He left immediately. Then, there are the stories about time. Some hikers say they spent what felt like an hour on the trail, but when they came down, much more time had passed. Others say the opposite, that they walked for hours, but their watches showed only a short time. Now, you could say it's just confusion, getting lost, losing track of time. That happens in forests. But the strange thing is, these people were on marked trails, simple paths, not deep wilderness. So why does time feel different there? Locals have their own ideas. Some believe the mountain has thin spots, places where the normal world and something else come very close. They don't always say what that something else is. Some think it's spiritual. Others think it's just energy we don't understand. But almost everyone agrees on one thing. You shouldn't ignore the feeling if something feels wrong. And then there are the sounds. People have reported hearing voices. Not clear words, just whispers, sometimes calling out faintly, like someone is trying to get your attention. But when you follow the sound, it disappears. That's actually something many experienced hikers warn about, not just here, but in many forests. If you hear a voice calling your name, and you can't see anyone, don't follow it, because you might not find what you expect. There was even a story about a camper who stayed overnight near the lower part of the mountain. Around midnight, he heard what sounded like someone walking around his tent. Slow steps, circling. He thought it might be an animal, maybe a deer, maybe something bigger. But animals don't usually walk in perfect circles around a tent for that long. He stayed completely still, listening. The steps stopped, and then a light tap on the side of the tent. Just one. He didn't open it. He didn't move. He waited until morning. When he finally stepped outside, there were no tracks, not even signs of disturbed ground. Now, of course, not everyone believes these stories. Some say it's just imagination. The forest can play tricks on your mind, especially when you're alone or tired. Shadows move, sounds echo. Your brain tries to make sense of things, even when there's nothing there. And that's true. But here's the thing. Even people who don't believe in anything strange sometimes admit the mountain feels different. It's hard to explain. Not exactly scary, not exactly dangerous, just off. Like you've stepped into a place that doesn't fully belong to the normal world. But let's talk about what the mountain is like today. Right now, Berea Pinnacles is still a well-known and popular hiking destination. Trails are maintained. People visit regularly. Families, students, tourists, all come to enjoy the view. That's the positive side. It's accessible, not too difficult to climb, and offers one of the best scenic views in the area. It's also close to the town, which makes it safe compared to more remote wilderness spots. During the day, especially in groups, it feels completely normal. But there are still negatives. Some trails can be steep and slippery, especially after rain. There have been minor accidents. People slipping, twisting ankles, getting lost when they step off the main path. And even now, some visitors still report that strange feeling. Not always, not every time, but enough that the stories haven't disappeared. There are still hikers who say the forest suddenly goes quiet. Still people who feel like they're being watched. Still moments where something doesn't feel right, even if nothing actually happens. Personally, I think there's a mix of things going on here. Part of it is nature. Forests are powerful places. They can change how you feel very quickly. Silence, shadows, isolation, it all affects your mind. But I also think places carry stories. When enough people experience something unusual, even if it's small, it builds a kind of atmosphere. And when new visitors come in, they feel it too, sometimes without even knowing why. Does that mean something truly mysterious is happening? Maybe. Or maybe the mountain just reminds us how little we actually understand about the world around us. Either way, it's a place that deserves respect. So if you ever find yourself near Berea and you decide to hike up to Berea Pinnacles, Go ahead and enjoy the view. But pay attention, not just to the scenery, but to the feeling. Because sometimes the strangest part of a place isn't what you see, it's what you feel when nothing is there. And even today, the present situation of the mountain remains a mix of beauty and quiet unease, safe and welcoming in daylight, yet still carrying those unexplained moments that keep its mystery alive. The Mammoth Cave Lost Explorers. Imagine walking into a cave so big, so deep, that even today, no one knows exactly where it ends. No sunlight, no signal, just darkness that feels alive. Now imagine going inside that place and never coming back out. This is the mystery of the lost explorers of Mammoth Cave, located in Kentucky. It's not just any cave. It's the longest known cave system in the world, with hundreds of miles of tunnels stretching underground like a hidden maze. And that maze has swallowed people before. The story begins in the early days, long before modern safety systems, guided tours, or proper maps. Back then, exploring caves was dangerous, but also exciting. People wanted to discover new passages, name them, and prove they had gone deeper than anyone else. One group of explorers decided to do just that. They weren't amateurs, they had experience. They brought lamps, ropes, and basic supplies. They believed they were ready. But Mammoth Cave doesn't work like other places. It doesn't forgive mistakes. The explorers entered for a known passage, one that had already been mapped. At first, everything was fine. They followed familiar paths, marked their way, and kept track of their direction. But then, they found something new. A narrow opening, not part of the main trail. A passage that seemed untouched. That's where things changed. Curiosity took over. They squeezed through and entered a part of the cave no one had officially explored before. The air felt colder, the walls tighter, the silence deeper. Still, they moved forward. They marked their path using small signs, scratches, bits of cloth, anything that could help them find their way back. But Mammoth Cave is not simple. It twists, splits, and loops in ways that can confuse even the most careful person. At some point, they made a wrong turn, and they didn't realize it. Hours passed. Their lamps began to dim. They tried to retrace their steps, but the marks they had left were either missing, unclear, or leading them in circles. Every tunnel started to look the same. Panic slowly started to build. In caves, panic is dangerous. It makes you move faster, think less, and use up energy you don't have. They kept walking. They called out to each other. But something strange started happening. Their voices echoed in ways that didn't make sense. Sometimes it sounded like someone was answering from far away. But when they followed the sound, there was nothing there. Just more tunnels, more darkness, more confusion. One of the explorers reportedly suggested staying in one place, waiting for rescue. That's usually the safest choice. But they didn't. Maybe they thought they were close to an exit. Maybe they believed they could still find their way out. So they kept moving. And that decision may have sealed their fate. Days later, when they didn't return, a search party was sent into Mammoth Cave. Search teams were not like today. No advanced gear, no tracking devices. Just lanterns, ropes, and experience. They followed the known paths first. Then they found signs that the explorers had gone off route. Scratches on the walls. Small pieces of cloth, footprints in soft cave dust. The search teams followed these clues deeper and deeper into the system. But Mammoth Cave is massive. For every tunnel you follow, there are many more you can miss. After days of searching, they found something. A lamp burned out. Then another. Then a bag with supplies left behind. But no people. The deeper they went, the more confusing it became. Some paths seemed to double back. Others ended suddenly. Some passages were so tight that rescuers couldn't continue. And then the trail stopped. No more marks, no more clues. Just empty tunnels. The explorers were never found, not alive. Not even their remains were clearly confirmed in those early reports. It was as if the cave had simply taken them. Over time, stories began to grow around what happened. Some say the explorers got trapped in a hidden chamber and ran out of air. Others believe they fell into a deep shaft, one that hasn't been discovered even today. But there are also stranger theories. Some visitors to Mammoth Cave claim they've heard things, footsteps in distant tunnels, faint voices, echoes that don't match their own sounds. Now, caves naturally create echoes. Sound travels in strange ways underground. It can bounce, stretch, and come back distorted. But some people say this feels different. Like the cave is repeating something, not just sound, but memory. There have even been guides who quietly admit that certain areas of the cave feel uncomfortable. Not dangerous exactly, just heavy. Like something happened there. Of course, there's no official proof of anything paranormal. Science explains most of it: disorientation, lack of light, oxygen levels, and the psychological effects of being underground for too long. But still, the mystery remains, because even with modern mapping, not every part of Mammoth Cave is fully explored. New passages are still being discovered. Some areas are sealed off for safety, which means it's still possible that somewhere deep inside, hidden behind rock and darkness, the final answers are waiting. Or maybe they were lost forever. Now, let's talk about the present situation. Today, Mammoth Cave National Park is a well-managed and protected site. It attracts thousands of visitors every year. Guided tours take people safely through parts of the cave, with trained experts leading the way. That's the positive side. It's much safer now. Paths are marked, lighting is installed in many sections. Visitors are not allowed to wander freely into dangerous areas. Rescue systems are in place. It's also an important natural and historical site, helping people learn about geology, history, and early exploration. But there are still negatives. Some parts of the cave are closed because they are too risky. Tight passages, unstable areas, and deep shafts still exist. Even experienced explorers must be extremely careful in unmapped sections. And despite all the safety measures, the cave can still be dangerous if rules are ignored. People who try to explore unauthorized areas risk getting lost, injured, or worse. And then there's the feeling. Even today, some visitors say that certain parts of the cave feel unsettling. The darkness, the silence, the depth. It can make your mind play tricks on you. Personally, I think the real mystery here is not just what happened to those explorers, but how easy it is to underestimate a place like this. Mammoth Cave is beautiful, fascinating, and important. but it's also powerful. It reminds us that nature doesn't always give second chances. And maybe that's why this story still stays with people. Because somewhere in that endless underground maze, a path was taken, a wrong turn was made, and no one ever came back to tell the full story. Even today, the present situation of the cave is a balance between safety and mystery, well protected and open to visitors, yet still holding deep, unexplored sections where its secrets, and possibly its lost explorers, remain hidden in the dark. The Red River Gorge petroglyphs. There's something about markings on stone that always feels unsettling. Not just because they're old, but because they were meant to last. Someone, long ago, stood in one place, picked up a tool, and carved something into rock, knowing it might outlive them. Now imagine finding those markings deep in a forest. No clear explanation, no one around. Just symbols that seem to watch you as much as you watch them. That's where today's mystery begins. Deep inside the forests of Red River Gorge, not too far from Kentucky, there are petroglyphs, ancient carvings etched into rock surfaces. At first glance, they might look simple. Lines, shapes, figures. But the more you look at them, the more questions come up. Who made them? Why were they placed there? And what were they trying to say? The gorge itself is already a strange place. Massive sandstone cliffs, natural arches, hidden trails, and thick forest that can feel quiet, too quiet sometimes. It's a place where people go to hike, climb, and escape the noise of the modern world. But long before that, people lived here. Indigenous groups passed through this land for thousands of years. They hunted, camped, and used the natural shelter of the cliffs. And at some point, they left behind these carvings. The petroglyphs are not random. Some show human-like figures. Others look like animals. There are symbols that repeat, circles, lines, shapes that don't match anything familiar. And then there are the ones that are harder to explain. Figures with stretched limbs, strange patterns that seem almost intentional in a way we don't fully understand. Some people believe these carvings were part of rituals. Others think they were a form of communication, messages left for others who would pass through the area. But here's where it gets more mysterious. Not all of the petroglyphs are easy to find. Some are hidden in less traveled parts of Red River Gorge. You have to leave the main trails, walk deeper into the forest, sometimes even climb to reach them. And people who have gone looking for them sometimes report strange experiences. One hiker described finding a set of carvings on a rock face that wasn't marked on any map. He said the symbols looked different from the others he had seen, more complex, almost layered. He took a few photos, but when he checked his phone later, the images were unclear, blurred, as if something interfered. Now, that could just be a camera issue. Lighting in forests can be tricky. Shadows move, focus shifts, but he also said something else. While he was near the carvings, the forest went completely silent. No wind, no insects, nothing. He said it felt like the entire area was holding its breath. And then, just as suddenly, the normal sounds came back. Another visitor claimed that while studying a group of petroglyphs, he felt disoriented. Not dizzy exactly, just confused, like he couldn't focus properly. He left the area quickly. Later, he said the feeling disappeared almost immediately after he moved away from the carvings. Again, this could have a simple explanation. Heat, dehydration, or even just standing too long in one place. But when multiple people report similar feelings, it starts to feel less random. Some locals believe the petroglyphs mark important places, not just physically, but spiritually. They say certain spots in Red River Gorge were used for ceremonies, places where people connected with something beyond everyday life. And the carvings were a way to protect those places or warn others. There's also another theory, that some of the symbols are not meant to be understood by everyone, that they were created with a purpose that has been lost over time. And maybe they're not just decorations or messages. Maybe they're markers. But markers for what? That's where things become unclear. Because unlike written language, these symbols don't have a direct translation. We can study them, compare them, guess their meaning, but we can't say for sure what they represent. And that uncertainty is what makes them feel mysterious. There have also been reports of people hearing faint tapping sounds near certain rock faces. Not loud, just soft, repeated knocks. When they go closer, the sound stops. When they move away, it sometimes returns. Now, natural explanations exist. Small rocks shifting, animals moving. Even temperature changes can cause stone to expand and contract. But again, it's the pattern that makes people uneasy, because it doesn't always feel random. And then there's the feeling of being watched. It's something that comes up in many stories connected to these petroglyphs, not in a threatening way, but in a quiet, observing way. Like the place remembers something or someone. Today, the petroglyphs in Red River Gorge are protected. Many of the known sites are kept away from heavy tourist traffic to prevent damage. Some locations are not publicly shared for this reason. That's one of the positives. Efforts are being made to preserve these carvings so they don't get destroyed or worn away. Researchers continue to study them, trying to understand their origin and meaning. The gorge itself is also a major natural attraction. It's known for its beauty, hiking trails, rock climbing spots, and unique landscapes. Visitors from all over come to experience it. But there are negatives too. Some petroglyphs have already been damaged over time, either by natural erosion or by people who didn't understand their importance. Graffiti, touching, and climbing on the rock surfaces can slowly erase these ancient markings. Also, because some sites are hidden or not well marked, people sometimes go off-trail to find them. This can be dangerous. The terrain can be rough, and it's easy to get lost. And then, there's that same feeling people talk about. Even today, visitors sometimes say certain areas of the gorge feel different. Not all the time, not everywhere, but in specific spots, especially near the carvings. Personally, I think the mystery of these petroglyphs comes from two things. First, we don't fully understand them. And as humans, we don't like not knowing. It makes our minds fill in the gaps. Second, places hold history. When something has been there for hundreds or even thousands of years, it carries a kind of presence, not necessarily something supernatural, but something real. A connection to people who lived, thought, and felt in a completely different time. And maybe when we stand in those same spots, we feel that connection in ways we can't easily explain. So, if you ever visit Red River Gorge and you come across these ancient carvings, take a moment. Look at them closely, but also pay attention to how the place feels. Because sometimes the biggest mystery isn't what the symbols mean. It's why they still make us feel something after all this time. And even today, the present situation of these petroglyph sites is a mix of protection and mystery, carefully preserved and respected, yet still surrounded by unanswered questions, quiet forests, and that same strange feeling that something from the past is still there, waiting to be understood.